Hello, Abby here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the leaders here at London Road Baptist Church, and I've been coming to the church now with my family for about 6 years. I'm going to start my midweek thought with a couple of verses from Psalm 19. Psalm 19 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the works of his hand. Day after day they pour forth speech, and night after night they reveal knowledge." I don't know how you've been finding it, but I found the past few months really quite challenging at times. There's been some really amazing blessings. It's been a time where I've been able to reevaluate what's important and what's not, and look at the things which have been missing in my life, which were there prior to COVID, and think about how important those things really are. And as a mum of 3 teenagers and one almost teenager, generally my life at home is a life of comings and goings. Sometimes our house feels like a busy train station in London with children buzzing in and out all the time, going to work, going to school, going to clubs. But during this lockdown period, their lives particularly have slowed down a lot. And it's given us the opportunity to spend much more time together as a family. And I feel that it's overall has brought us all much closer together, which has been great. So this time has been a time of difficulties and blessings. But perhaps the biggest thing I've missed is spending time with my church family, and particularly coming to church on a Sunday. I've really missed my church family. I've missed worshipping together, and I've missed Sunday being that focus for the start of a new week. At this point, I just want to say how grateful I am to those who have been working so hard on our virtual services. They've been amazing and much, much needed. However, as a church, we could create the best YouTube services on earth, but they will never, ever be able to replace how it feels and our experience of meeting together, of singing together, of worshipping together. And if I'm honest, I have found that at times it has been more difficult to remain close to God. It's been for 2 reasons, I guess. One is that missing the church family. The other is that although for some lockdown has been a time of slowing down, for me it certainly hasn't been this. I have needed to work throughout and for longer hours than I have ever worked in my life. This has meant that finding that time with God is more difficult than it's ever been. And for much of the time I've been functioning in some kind of zombified state of exhaustion. And it's been really difficult to get the motivation and just find that time just for me and God together. But there has been a way that I have kept my faith and stayed close to God. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that with you today. And this has been through connecting with God through nature. I'm so thankful that this pandemic has happened at such a wonderful time of the year. At the start of the pandemic, my garden still looked a bit sad, a bit bare. The shrubs and plants were all in place, and there were signs and promises of new growth, little buds starting to form and bulbs peeking out through the soil. I have watched how through the months this new growth has suddenly taken off and flowers have bloomed and created bursts of colour throughout the garden. The weather's been so fabulous, and therefore bike rides and walks on the beach have become a regular part of so many of our lives. One day, a couple of months ago, I needed to nip down the road to the post box. I was feeling really down, really fed up. I'd worked really long hours, sat at my desk at a computer, just typing away for 10, 12, 14 hours each day, and I just about hit a low and thought, I've had enough of all this. So I thought I'd take 5 minutes out and walk down to the post box. So there I was, grumpily walking along the road, when I saw something that made me stop in my tracks. And between this cracked old pavement and this dilapidated wall, a beautiful, beautiful poppy had grown. It was one of those poppies that are packed full of leaves, that have huge heads, and was just so beautiful. And it made me stop. And as I looked at it, I felt this sense that God was saying to me that this represents this time. We could focus on the ugly cracked piece of pavement or the broken old wall that needs replacing. Or we could focus that on out of this brokenness and out of the ugliness that there is around it, something of such beauty can just grow. So often we feel surrounded by ugliness and bad things, don't we? We have watched in horror as the virus has spread and left so many fighting for their lives. And often, so sadly, this is a battle that's not been won. We turn on our TVs each day to find the death toll still rising, still increasing. We watch as there is more unrest in the world around us. We wonder if there are wars ahead to come. We have seen the ugliness of racism and police brutality in the US. And then we've heard the testimonies of Black, Asian and minority ethnic people in our country. And we realise that systemic racism doesn't just affect those in the US, but it's affecting the daily lives of so many people in our country too. And I could go on with examples of the news of the difficult things that we're facing as a country and as a world today. And I am not going to be saying for a minute that we should not be outraged and saddened by the things that are happening, and that even that we should be active in fighting against injustice. But we also need to keep a balance to our lives. In the midst of the darkness, in the midst of the ugliness and injustice, our God remains beautiful. Our God remains pure. Our God remains full of hope and promise. If we lose sight of this, we risk being drawn into a pattern of negativity and pessimism. Hope is so central to our faith. Without it, we risk the weakening of our faith. And how can we be good witnesses for Jesus if we lead a life that's full of negativity? And please don't hear me wrong on this. Life is flipping tough at times. It can seem an uphill battle. We suffer heartbreak, we suffer loss and injury and illness and many other things. But the difference is, as a church, we have a hope. We know the big picture. That this plane journey that we're on may be a bumpy and scary ride. But we know where our plane is going to land, and our plane is landing in paradise. I said in my last midweek thought, and I'm going to say it again because I love this. I love stars and things. So now is our time to shine. The darker the night, the brighter that we can shine for Jesus. Let's not be caught up completely in the negativity. But let's remember this hope that we have, that's Jesus, and this promise of eternal life in heaven, in paradise. Since seeing the poppy, life has continued to be tough. I'm going to be honest with you. Work has been really tough. Homeschooling has been really tough. Lots of things have been tough. but I have challenged myself to find something of beauty every day. And I found communion with God in the sounds of the waves on the beach. I have felt close to God by feeling the warmth of the sun on my face, the sound of my children laughing together, the taste of a big juicy strawberry. And I have stopped and I have thanked God for the beauty that has always been and remains in our world. A beauty that reflects a beautiful, creative God. I'm going to close now by saying Old Celtic Blessing. And after that, I've picked a song. I don't know if this has been done before in the Midweek Thoughts, but I've managed to pick one that's not a Christian song, but it's a song that always points me to God. And I hope that it points you to God too. So the Celtic Blessing is this. Deep, deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the infinite peace to you.